Okay, Love in the Wild fam. Today's conversation is for anyone who's ever had that little feeling in their gut, like something in the relationship was off, but you couldn't quite pinpoint it for obvious reasons. On this episode of Love in the Wild, I'm joined by Erica Fracassa, creator of Delusional to Discerning, a platform dedicated to helping you make sense of confusing relationship dynamics and reconnect with their own perceptions of reality. After spending 15 years in a relationship that left her constantly questioning her own perception, Erica knows what it means to live life in the gray, where every conversation, no matter how you have it, leaves you more confused, not less. Fast forward to today, she's helped people move from confusion to decisions rooted in discernment, giving language to experiences people often can't name while they're still inside them. Her work centers on something she calls reality restoration, which is rebuilding trust in your own perception after it's been slowly eroded over time. So this conversation is really something that I hold near and dear to my heart for many reasons. So we're just going to hop into it. Thank
Right.
you so much, Erica, for being on Love in the Wild.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for having me.
Of
I'm
course.
so excited.
So tell me a little bit more about yourself, why you started kind of your whole ecosystem of,
Yeah.
social media, discerning, like everything that you're doing.
It's a long story that I will keep short for our audience sake. I started 4 months ago on Instagram, and I kind of fell into this very accidentally. I started recording myself with my therapist through my own healing. Is like listening to someone else say it to get it imprinted in my mind. She offered up the idea of me recording myself as if I were talking to a friend. And I had, I don't know, I think 38 videos by January. And I just decided to post them all, like with no captions, no hashtags, and came up with this handle, delusional to discerning, because I was called delusional a lot in my relationship. And I learned the word discerning. I mean, I knew of the word, but I knew like the true definition of it through my healing process. And yeah, that's just how we've gotten to where we are. Long story short. So I am so stoked to talk to you. I really do feel like this is my purpose to educate and help others find their self trust, their clarity, and their discernment in the relationship. And that's what I do now, just to help you get there sooner so you don't stay as long as I did in mine.
Yeah. And I don't know how we connected on social. I don't know if I followed you first and then you followed me back, or if I don't know what it
Maybe
was.
I can't tell you because I was trying to find, people in the space, and so it could have been, but vice versa. I'm glad it happened.
I know, because I've been through that.
Yeah.
And without putting too much detail, because I don't like dragging people through the mud on this podcast. I'm
Yeah.
like, this is my own journey. Like how they were a part of my life doesn't really matter. But
Sure.
I definitely had, I was called crazy.
Mm.
Ultimately went to therapy to try to fix my crazy, and then was
Maybe
kind of told like,
you're
are
not
you
that
sure
crazy. Yeah.
you're the crazy one? Like,
Mhm.
and it took a lot for me to re-imprint in my mind what was normal and what I had been living through.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
she would say, "Okay, well that's not how normal people act. That's not how normal people respond, and this is how it should have gone, or this is how
A
you should."
healthy dynamic
Yes,
goes. Yeah.
yes.
Because the word normal, not to cut you off, but I feel like the normal word, it's like everyone has their own perception of normal, right?
Mhm.
But it's when you have someone that literally is telling back to you, like, in a healthy communicative relationship, it could resolve in this way, or, it's normal versus like healthy. And I think healthy, I try to say, because it's hard to be like, oh, what normal people have. But like,
Yes.
how do you know what's normal? Everyone has their own version of normal.
That is a really good way to put it because
We were in unhealthy dynamics, right?
it was very unhealthy
Hmm.
to
Yeah.
where I got to a point where I was like, I'm gonna start I didn't actually do it, but I was like, I need to start recording conversations
Yes.
because I would say something and it would be like, well, that's not how it was
Or
said,
that
or
never
this
was
sounded
said. Hmm.
wrong, or this. And I was like, if only I had the recording
I know.
to remind myself, like,
And
because
then
I
you're like, I am crazy that I have to record the conversation to remember, but it's when you get so conditioned to believe that your own perception is inaccurate, you need
Yes.
some validation so you can talk yourself back into trusting yourself.
Yes.
It's crazy. It is crazy
It is. It is. I remember
and very
being called
healthy.
crazy.
Yes.
And my last point was when I was like, I just don't wanna feel this way anymore.
Yeah.
Maybe I am crazy. Maybe I'm
Yep.
not, but I don't wanna feel this way forever.
Yes.
And that was when I started, like, looking for either truth or figuring out who I was and, just going in that route of, like, I just wanna be anywhere from this feeling. So, can you kind of, like, tell me a little bit more about, like, what reality restoration is and why people need it?
Yes. Yeah. It's kind of funny. There's the brand of delusional discerning, but at the core, like, we've been gaslit so many times that you lose access to your own knowing, right? And so
Mhm.
reality restoration really isn't adding something new. It's recovering your ability to trust what you actually see because it is our reality. Whether, you know, everyone's perception of something can be different, but trusting your own reality is your own perception. And I think that was the hardest thing for me. And I still grapple with it because I'd go to therapy and she would say, well, this isn't normal. This isn't healthy. And I would say, well, am I even remembering it right? Like, that's my own perception. Cause he would always say, like, well, that's your opinion. That's your perception. And I'm not trying to mock. It's just, trying to give a different voice.
Right, right.
And, um, and so then I started believing that my own perception and my own reality may not even be true. And so my therapist taught me that everyone has their own perception. And she told me to watch this show. It's called Fleischman's in Trouble. I think it's on HBO. It's with Claire Danes and the guy from the Facebook movie. I don't know his name.
Okay,
And
yeah.
they live parallel lives, but the first part is someone's perception, and the second part that you don't even know is actually coming is the other person's perception. And it's the same situation, same storyline, but totally different narratives. And I remember thinking, like, kind of like what you said, like, I just don't want to feel like this anymore. And if my perception is wrong, so be it. But I don't want to be in this. So,
Yes.
yeah, I think reality restoration kind of came from that. It's a process really of reconnecting with what you know to be true.
Mm. And how do you do that? Like, do you work with people or are you just sharing it on your social? Like,
Yeah. Okay. So it's been 4 months, right?
yeah.
I think most people think like gaslighting is someone saying that never happened. But the deeper version is when someone's consistent behavior contradicts their words. So I teach patterns and you spend years trying to make both true at once. And like you or I or anyone that's listening, like we're not stupid. You're actually really intelligent, right? But you've been trained to
Yes.
second guess your own perception. And what I see over and over is self aware people come to me and they're like, I know something is wrong, but I can't prove it. And that gap between knowing and being able to trust your knowing, that's where you get stuck. So, reality restoration is about closing that gap and it's about rebuilding your authority over your own experience. And so, I have created a course called the Reality Restoration System. So I offer that. But I think a lot of my work really comes from my one on one clarity sessions. I
Mm.
got certified in trauma informed coaching. And so I feel like that has helped me really connect with, because sometimes you just don't need therapy. I think, you go to therapy and you learn all these words and you get validated in your experience. But someone who's been through it,
Mhm.
I think that's this horrible kinship, right? Like this horrible relationship that you can bond over. It's almost like a different type of trauma bonding. But I've done so much research and work and understand the dynamics of the patterns. And so I
Yeah.
help that reality be restored through finding their clarity.
Mm. That's honestly, I feel like one of the biggest gaps in kind of what we're talking about. And it's why I wanted to have the videos. Is like you want that
Yes.
proof because then you're like, it's almost like I'm just gonna throw it out like cheating,
Yes.
or like a lie where you're like, I know that this isn't true because, he
It's not
told me.
adding up. Yeah.
And I'm walking outside and I see that it's clearly blue. And I ask my neighbor and the neighbor says it's blue or he cheated
Yes.
and it's definitive. But the gaslighting, I explain it to people where it feels like death by a thousand paper cuts.
Yes, I've said that in one of my videos, and Dr.
Yeah.
Ramani says that in her book, because it really is. It's
Yeah.
little bits chipped away at you over time that you become the shell of someone you once knew. And
Mhm.
like you, I wanted to be that person again. And I knew she existed. I knew she wasn't negative. I knew she was happy and smart and capable. But I became this very trusting, like almost they could say anything. And it contradicted like 4 other people in the room, but I would trust what they said because I truly thought he had my best interests in mind. He's my partner, he's my spouse, and I would trust you said the sky is blue and you ask your neighbor that. I got so bad that I would be like, "My neighbor is wrong." Like, it was mentally destabilizing, and
Yeah.
I didn't even have my own thoughts anymore, and so I got to that point where I don't wanna feel like this anymore. I wanna be my own person again.
Yeah. What was your kind of aha breakthrough moment?
Oh, wow. It's a death by a thousand cuts, right? But
Yeah.
you think that that breakthrough moment is gonna be this catastrophic thing. Like, you just because, like, in the movies or in life, like, the final straw is usually something so catastrophic,
Mhm.
but mine was so minuscule, like, so minuscule. There had been 3 months prior, something catastrophic that happened, and it wasn't my last straw. Like, it added to it, but it was on, a holiday, and he ruined the day, and it had nothing to do with the adults in the room. The holiday is centered around children, and I remember and I was like, I used to be so excited about birthdays and holidays and, like, being a mother and creating traditions. He would always make me feel, like, stupid for being so stoked about that stuff.
Mm.
And, holiday, we were like I wanted him to go back to the home to get something so I didn't have to, carry around my son the whole time. I asked him to get a stroller, and he just kept fighting me and saying like, "No, no, he's fine, he can walk." And I know he can walk, but not for the long time that we're gonna be out, and I also know that he won't let anyone else hold him but me, right? So I was like, "Can you just go get it?" And he fought me, and he came back. He eventually went, and he came back, and he, like, shoved it at me and, said some pretty vulgar things like, "I don't know
Mhm.
what the problem is," whatever. But it was in front of people, in front of strangers instead of my close friends, and it was that little moment that I was like, "I'm done," and I left not even a month later.
Wow.
Yeah, it was tiny. I mean, it really wasn't a big deal, right? Like, it didn't ruin my life, but it was enough for me to be like, "This is never gonna end. You're
Yep.
always gonna make me feel like too much, and I just don't wanna feel like that anymore."
Yeah. Mine was on Mother's Day, by the way.
It's
So
funny, it is a pattern, though.
it is.
They cannot let you be happy or excited or have the center of attention.
Yeah.
What
And that
happened? Well,
so
you
it
don't
was
have to share.
well, it was just very small. It was like my kids got into just like a small disagreement and he left, but then didn't tell me that he left. So my youngest was a year and a half maybe at this point, and my oldest was gosh, they're 5.5 years apart, so we would've been 6.5
Okay.
maybe, and I was in the other room, so it was perfectly fine. It wasn't like child endangerment at all. But it was Mother's Day, and I was on the phone with my mom, and I just came out to chaos, and I was like, "What happened?"
Can I not
And he
have a conversation with my mother?
right, like, and I was like, "I'm done."
Mhm.
Like, we're not even doing anything, it was like, we're not doing things because it was me going, like, the bare minimum of what I wanted to do to celebrate Mother's Day, right?
Yeah,
Because it was like, "Okay,
all of that.
this'll keep things copacetic, and we'll just hang out at home, it'll be no big deal," and then there was still some way
Yes. It
to
got even worse than bare minimum.
conflict, and that was it. Like, I tell people, I'm like, "It wasn't even a big thing at all." And
No.
I think that kinda brings me to my next question. Maybe you know the answer, maybe you don't, but, like, when is something considered a pattern versus, like, a rough patch? Because that's something that I struggled with a lot,
Yeah.
figure out what was what.
I think, a pattern is this consistent thing, and we're all human, we have rough patches, right? Like, a rough patch is when something difficult happens, and it always will be that way. It's life. We're human. And you both lean in to work through it.
Mm,
Like, whether it's something that happened on my side or his side or whoever's side of the relationship, right? Like, it's a rough patch, but you are willing to work together to get through it. You can see the edge of it. You can imagine the other side of this rough patch, right? I think a pattern is when you're just, describing last month's fight and it sounds exactly like the fight from 6 months ago. It's the same words, same escalation, same ending, and you realize this is going to happen again. And it's those death by a thousand cuts, like having, it's not just this one off thing. It could
mhm,
be a one off new pattern starting, maybe, but that's, with time, you see if it is a repetition. But I think, the difference isn't how painful it is because they're both hard. It's whether
yeah,
anything changes after it happens. Like, does he apologize and actually shift the behavior? Or does he apologize and or you both know it's happening again in 2 weeks? Like, I remember feeling like, this relief of the high, like we're good, but always waiting for the ball to drop. And that's
mm,
when I realized it was a pattern because a rough patch is temporary. A pattern is predictable. And
mm,
once you see the pattern, you can't unsee it.
yeah,
It becomes so clear.
yeah. That's a really good way to put it because it took me getting out. Like, you almost have like
Yeah.
that bird's eye view of where you can see your own situation, but you're, either physically or mentally or emotionally just removed.
Yes.
And you can look at it and you can say, you can almost see yourself in the situation. And that's when I started realizing the patterns.
Yes.
So now that I am just removed from it, I can almost calculate, okay, I know this is going to cause conflict. This is what's going to happen. Then this is going to happen. This is going to happen. And then we'll be good.
Yes.
And then it'll recycle again.
Yes, and so your nervous system's more regulated in that anticipation, and I
Yes.
think that's it doesn't end, right? Like, a pattern's a pattern, and if someone changes, great. I would love that for them, right? But
Mhm.
if they don't take responsibility or accountability in their part of the dynamic not working, they're not gonna change, and so then you can anticipate the pattern coming again, and that actually grounds you in your nervous system so you don't get, like, pulled into the dynamic as often. I mean, it will happen.
Mhm.
We're human, but yeah, that third eye view it's wild. You're, like, living I know exactly what you're talking about. It really
Yeah.
is wild.
And, when you're in it, you never think you're gonna get out of it, I
Yeah,
think.
I know
Like,
I
you're almost
stayed
just
so
like
long.
a animal in a cage where you're like, "This is just life," and then you get out of it, and it honestly, almost immediately after, like, just having the space, I felt myself calm down,
Same. It
and I
was
was like,
incredible. I was so gut-wrenched, heartbroken, right?
"Same."
So many emotions, but at the same time, it was almost like God or some higher power was, like, holding me, and I felt so supported and free, but I had no support. I didn't feel like I
Mhm,
had any freedom, but it was such a within feeling, like, I could feel my body just, like I wasn't so tense about anything. I was still, I was away. I knew I was safe. It was like the reality just 180'd. Everything changed. And so did I had a visceral response to it. I know exactly what you're talking about.
mhm. Yeah, similar boat. Had no help, I had no idea what I was going to do. I don't think I had a job at the time. Like, I was like, "I don't know how I'm gonna make money
It's
or
so scary. Yeah.
do anything." But at the same time, I felt this overwhelming peace of just, "It's just me."
Yeah, like I
And
don't have to worry about that anymore.
yes.
And I can make my own decisions without feeling anxiety that's the wrong one or that I need to make a decision like with that person in mind. It was like I am thinking about myself and my children,
Yes.
and I know I'm capable, and I'm gonna figure it out. Maybe not tomorrow, but I will get there. And hold on, I just wanna say I'm really freaking proud of you.
Aw,
No,
thank you.
that's like, to choose yourself. So many people reach out to me, it's like, "Ben, you know, everything you say, like, rings true. It's been 35 years. I can't leave. I don't have a job," all this stuff, and I get it, everyone's story and situation is different.
Mhm.
but just choosing yourself once, everything falls into alignment eventually.
Yes.
You're so out of alignment in that relationship that you don't even know what you're capable of or what is possible for you.
Yeah. And that's why I was so excited to just find your page. And that's why I was like, she has to come on the podcast
Mm,
because, I know that I can't be alone in this. Like, you can't be alone in this. Women who are married or not even married in relationships
yeah,
for 35 years feeling this way, probably feel so alone. And I'm
it's
like,
awful.
I love that you're bringing light to it. I was like, we have to amplify it here
I'm so
because
glad.
that's all I want is I want other women to feel like they're not alone.
Same.
Like there's power in knowing that you're not delusional.
100%. There's a lot of validation in it. And whether
Mhm.
you're seeking truth about your situation or, just in general, it's not going to be a rinse and repeat, but the patterns are the same. And so once you start seeing them, it's hard not to see. And if you get that validation, I literally thought it was just me,
Mhm.
because I have conversation well, you fight with everyone. You have disagreements all the time, but the difference between mine and my friends' relationships when they fought was there was a joint resolution. And yes, it could happen again, but the pattern of it being a joint decision to move forward and that you see the end in sight, that was the difference. And that was the missing piece for me. I never felt like I was in a partnership.
Mhm.
And I think, getting that validation through you even talking to me, still feel that way. And my whole audience, like, I had no idea how validating a lot of my stories would be for people. And it's just heartbreaking, but also so empowering at the same time. And not just empowering for me, empowering for that person who's listening to being validated. Hopefully, it gives them some type of awareness or help or truth in their story that they aren't alone.
Mhm.
And that's all I want. That's literally all I want to do with my voice.
I commend you for that. And
Thank
I
you.
truly love what you're doing. And it continues to remind me, cuz really for these women that are still in it, it's like you just need that one little almost like
Mhm.
of courage or confidence to say, I'm choosing myself. I'm not doing this anymore. And a quote that just always rings true in my head, especially when I have the lows where I'm like, how am I going to, you
Uh-huh.
know, make this work? Or how am I going to do this? Or, I think all the things that us women face is you worry a lot for someone who's figured it out every single time.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
I just got chills.
yeah.
Yeah. Because I saw something similar. It's like, I think that was the quote. It's like, you worry a lot for someone who has always figured it out, right?
Hmm.
Or whatever. I saw that and I was like, yeah, you're right, because there's no other option, and there's a lot of people in my life actually, not a lot, there's this one person in my life who just plays victim and doesn't try to figure it out. They use other people to figure it out for them, and I think that's a quality of this resilience, of going through what we do as mothers or as anything in life is you have no other choice but to figure it out. And
Hmm.
every single time you have, yes, you've tripped on your face and fallen while
Yep.
doing it, but you're not gonna make that mistake again, and you'll learn from it, grow, trip again, learn from it, grow, trip again, and I'm okay with that. I'm not perfect by any means, and I also don't know everything, but I always come out the other side eventually.
Yeah, I remember being, on my way out and thinking to myself, like, what am I gonna do
Mhm.
for money? And I was like, I'll clean toilets at this point.
Yeah,
Like, I will wait tables, I will clean toilets, I will do
whatever
what
anyone doesn't wanna do, there's gonna
yeah.
be an open job for it, and I'll do it.
I was like, I'm not gonna be above anything. And I think that's the hardest part is that realizing that me or anybody could be in that bad of a situation.
That we would clean toilets and be okay with it.
Yes,
I
like
know.
I would do any job that nobody wants to do just for my peace and sanity.
I know it. And I think there's another quote that I've seen. It's like, how women leave or, you leave your relationship. And there's a lot of like, hold on, let me think of it real quick. But it's like women leave relationships and have the idea of knowing that they're going to see their children less, that they're going to have to parent alone, that they're going to have to make money on their own, like all of these reasons. And it's like something along the lines is like, it must have been that bad for someone to know these things and still leave. And I gotta find it exactly, but it's something like that. It's so powerful because I knew that was what I was facing, and that was my nightmare to not have my children all the time. But I knew I needed them to have a whole version of me that I knew I once was, and that
Mhm.
they were not going to be able to experience that version if I stayed exactly where I was.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was, like, the tip of the iceberg for me, is,
Same.
like, this is starting to affect who I am as a mom, and that's not fair to my kids, that's not fair to myself. I was the same way as you. I
Yeah.
loved celebrating birthdays, I loved being fun, and I turned into this kind of mean and
Same.
snappy, and because I was always walking on eggshells.
Well, and we're so overextended. I
Yeah.
mean, like, I think that was the thing. My cortisol, my nervous system was on fleek like, it was on fire. And
Mhm.
so anything that was out of ordinary, like, I talked about this on my page, and it's actually embarrassing, but it's a very real, raw, like, human emotion. When you're so overextended, you're so tapped out, when something goes awry, like a child gets sick or, a flight gets canceled or something, you have so much resentment for that thing because you cannot possibly imagine taking on anything more. And I
Mhm.
remember this one time my child got sick, and I am a very maternal, loving, gentle, warm person. And I remember thinking and crying, like, why am I resenting this helpless person, child?
Yeah.
For being sick, they can't help it. But I knew it was because well, not in the moment, I figured it out later, like, because I was so overextended, and it's like now when my children get sick, because we know I have 3 of them, they always get sick, and I'm able to show up so tender and loving and nurturing, and it's just that is a very easy contrast for me to see. A lot of the other contrasts I can't see as quickly because I still snap, we all hit our moments like
Right.
with each other. But that one for me, it was like I remember that so specifically and kinda hating myself for it, but I
Yeah.
couldn't help it. And then now, it's just a stark difference, and it's like, well, if anything, they're gonna get a nurturing, caring mother now when they're sick because I couldn't give it to them as
Yeah.
what I wanted to when I was in it.
Yeah.
I feel
Yeah.
bad even saying that out loud, but I guess whatever, it's the truth.
It
Still
is.
love them, but I was resentful.
Yeah, I remember being very snappy, and
Mhm.
now, almost as long as I was in as I am out. I look at my kids and I'm like,
That's
"You
okay. You're
you
okay.
can't do anything wrong."
Yeah.
Like, I'm very tough on my kids. I have 2 boys, so I'm
Kinda
like,
need to be. They're cray cray.
"They are."
Well, mine are.
I'm like, "You better use your manners. You better clean up
Mhm.
yourselves." Like, "Absolutely not. We're not speaking that way," but at the same time, I look at them and I'm just like, "You are everything I prayed for." And it's like, I didn't necessarily they were people to take care of when I was in my high
Yes.
cortisol
That
phase.
is that's exactly what it was for me.
Yeah, it was like
Mhm.
one more task, like, "Okay, I have to
Mhm.
feed them dinner. I have to do this." And now I really get to enjoy them,
Yes.
and we have fun, and we listen to music, and I I take my house as, like, a very sacred, like, no stress,
Yes.
you know? Like,
Like, come
we're not
here
that
and
here
feel
anymore.
loved. Yes. I know exactly what you mean. Yeah, it was just another thing to take care of. And it's like the reality of that is their children, they're gonna be needed to take care of, and so why wouldn't you know you're gonna have to take care of them when you have children. Like, I can hear the backlash of it.
You
But it's
right.
like you don't know until you know. Like, I wanted children so badly, and I wanted to take care of them so badly, but the mental load, the overextension, the adrenal failure, the nervous system on high, the cortisol, it takes a toll on your mental and physical well-being, and you can't show up as that taking care of mother you want to be. And
Yeah,
now we can, and we
yeah,
should be proud of that.
yeah. It, like, makes it all worth it
Yeah.
because 'cause I'm very maternal, I'm very, like, loving, and we're
Yeah,
like living room family, like, we don't really go in our rooms, we're just, like we all hang out together.
I love that.
That's what I love. I love being around you guys. Love your quirks and your funny and whatever, but yeah, it being in something so high strung took all that away from me.
Yeah,
Like, I just didn't have the energy left for it.
I can relate 100%.
So what was your kind of moment where you started experiencing healthy, like a healthy communication, healthy problem resolve, healthy just life?
Yeah, I feel like, healthy. I like that we pivoted back to this
Yeah.
because normal is what you wanna say, but I feel like healthy, it took a while. I'm only, a year and a half out since
Okay.
leaving. I think, I left in North Carolina, you have to be separated for a year before you can actually file for divorce, and everything just happened so quickly. And, I chose to move out of the house and get my own house, and I'm so proud of that, and I feel like
Yay.
bit by bit and brick by brick, like, making this house a home for me and being able to experience life, like you said, without that weight on you and just kind of doing things knowing you'll figure it out, like, that felt really healthy to me. I haven't experienced, it's a funny question to say. It's like, because I don't know yet what healthy looks like in, like, love romantically, but I know I'll find it because I'll know exactly what that is, and I know the differences between unhealthy and healthy. But
Okay.
I have a very healthy relationship with everyone in my life. I always had, it was this
Yeah.
compartmentalization of how can I show up and be my true self with my friends and then come home and turn into this monster that, can't deal. It was because I was in that energy. And I
Mhm.
think when I removed myself from the energy, I was able to show up as the healthy, happy version of myself.
Yeah. Yeah. It took me a long time to get back to just a status quo of where I felt like my foundation was good.
Yeah.
And because I knew I never wanted, and I preface this by saying, like, I never wanted to attract that again. So,
Yes.
like, I understood where I fell short in, like, finding that.
Yes.
Like, I didn't have
That's
boundaries.
the
I
big
didn't have,
part. No, that's it. I think I'm so glad you brought that up, and I feel like that's a lot of what is the missing piece is, like, we both hold it's not like one or the other is worse,
yeah.
it's like, "Why did I attract this
Yes.
into my life?" Like, there's something missing from me that I needed filled, and so
Yes.
for you to be aware of that is huge.
Yeah. And it took a while because I went, into dating before I really did the therapy, like deep dive into therapy. And so once I figured out like I needed to have boundaries and self-love and do all these things because I never want to attract this type of person again, found my foundation, met like a really cool, like great guy. And that was my first understanding of a healthy, like love communication where I was almost like, I'm just going to get this conflict out of the way because if it ends the way,
Gestures and yeah,
yes, if it, if I see that it goes into the same pattern that
you'll
I'm used to,
know.
I'm done. I'm not
Mhm.
time.
That's a no tolerance, like,
A
that's
zero.
discernment.
Yes.
Yes.
He immediately like we were kind of like passing and I was like, "Hey, I want to talk to you." Stopped in his tracks. He's like, "What's up?" And I told him. He like you could see he was like processing it all. He
Yeah.
was like, "Wow, I'm really sorry
Yeah.
that like you felt that way because I did this." And
Yes.
he was like, "I." He explained why. I forget exactly what it was, but he was like, "Well, I was just doing this because this was going on and da da da." And he's like, "I didn't even think it would affect you this way, and I'm so sorry."
Yeah.
And has been actively working on it. And I'm like,
Taken aback.
"Yes."
Yes, and also that for me, it's happened on my side and, I have experienced similar because 'cause I'm like, I just wanna nip it, I wanna get it out of the way, and if I sense anything and you know what? I didn't trust it at first, to be honest. I remember telling my sister, like, "I'm gonna see if it happens again. Like, this is gonna be a pattern, like, if it comes up" because it was like that at the beginning. In my relationship during the love bombing, like, if something happened, I was consoled. I was, "Oh, let me" it was adored and understood and validated. And then one day, it went away, and I chased it to get back to that 3-month version
Mhm,
for 15 years. And so even when that happens, having your discernment up of being like, "I am going to accept that as is, and I'm happy that
mhm.
he approached it this way. But if it ever goes back to a manipulation, defensive, DARVO, like reverse victim offender,
Yeah,
anything like that. I'm going to be so aware and be like, what about this conversation was different from the last one? And why did you react this way versus like that
yeah,
conflict resolution?
yep.
Because I don't trust it. I don't trust a lot yet. Even genuine kindness, I don't trust.
I'm 3 years out, and it is very hard.
Yes,
Like,
because they're so
people
conditioned.
yeah, they'll tell me, they're like, "You're not a trusting person."
I used
And I'm
to
like,
be,
"I used to
clearly.
be. I was one time,
Yes.
and it only took one time to, like, never wanna do it again."
A little too trusting.
Yeah, so I get it. It's and yeah, I'm the same way. Like, you see the one time where, you're like, "Okay, I'm recognizing the pattern," but if something doesn't line up, I'm like,
Out.
yeah,
Yeah,
like,
or I'm
I
gonna
need to
call you
prove it.
out.
Yes, calling you out, like, I'm not like, "Oh, it's no big deal."
No, no more. No. It's funny, I had this, I was, dating some guys, and I had, nicknames for them, and one of them was Nice Guy. And I would always call him nice guy because he was and is so nice. But I
Mhm.
didn't trust the niceness. I'm like, something's up. I gotta get in. And he's 10 years older than me too, which I think is also different. Like I'm about to be 40, he's about to be 50. And I feel like not for all men, right? But like for him and his awareness of life is like, I've been through this before. He's also divorced. He's like, I just want to have like a great life and enjoy a relationship. Like I'm not in this to play a game. So as I got to know him and he has consistently been nice. It's just like I still can't trust it. Like it has to be a little bit more time. I think I'll get there, but it's funny how well, it's not funny. It's actually horrible that you can't trust someone just being kind.
Yeah,
So
I
it's whatever. It is what it is. At least we're learning.
yeah. I think it's just, once you've gone through something like that, that completely flips your world around, and for me, I had this idea that I had never met someone like that, that could be so cruel. I was like, "This is reserved for felons." Like
I know. Yeah.
and, you know, because I was like, I didn't inherently think humans were just that bad.
No, because we
Uh,
project our own capability onto others, and I
yeah,
think that goes into being trusting. It's like, "Oh, well, they have my best interest in mind," and it could be with a relationship with a friend, a family member, whatever, and then you find out later that they either talk shit behind your back or cheated on you. It's like, "Wait, no, no, no. That would never. I couldn't possibly. There's no way that's true." But it is. It's because not all people in life operate the same way as we do. And I
mm,
think for so long, I truly believe that because I grew up with the notion of treat others the way you want to be treated. And so I was like, I'll treat them this way. And so, they're going to treat me how they want it to be treated. And it is so naive. It's so childlike, right? But I lived in that state for a long time, and I still do because that's who I am at my core, but I have more discernment now, and that's the different flex.
yeah, yeah. I grew up the same way.
Yeah.
Like, treat people with love, treat them how you wanna be treated,
Yeah.
and I still, despite disagreements and everything that's going on, I'm like, I'm still going to hold myself to a standard that I'm okay with.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna stoop to your level. I have moments where I'm like,
We all do.
not my finer moment. But, you know, for the majority of life, I try to just, take the high road and
It's an
still be
energy
that
suck.
person.
I think the
But
older I've gotten, it's an energy suck too.
yeah, I don't
It's like I don't have the energy for it. So
yeah,
I'd rather just take the high road and let you water it in a bridge to me, but I'm not gonna forget it, you know?
right. It's like if someone tells you 2 plus 2 is 7, I'm gonna be like,
Sure.
"Sure.
And be
I
like,
think you're an
I
idiot."
remembered you're a freaking liar." I just don't care to argue about that because it's like when you talk to someone who's that, confabulated in their own reality, there's no way you're gonna ever get through. And then you've spent an hour talking about 2 plus 2 equals 7. It's like, I don't really care because I know it's 6. So, whatever. I think it's just I've gotten older. I think that's a lot about my platform too. I get asked all the time, like, "Is your ex watching?" Sure, maybe. I don't know. I literally don't care because I'm not doing this for him at all.
Yeah.
And even if someone's like, even because I know he's gonna be like, "She's lying," but I also don't care, like, because
Yeah.
I'm not talking about him directly. Yes, I talk about scenarios sometimes, but it's like, I don't name him, I don't slander, I don't talk about, like, him in this, character diminishing, like, they could figure it out type of way. But it's like, I'm talking about the real life situations and perceptions and healing that I'm going through for others, not really him. And I think before that would have, even a year or 2 years ago, I don't think I would have had enough confidence to say, I don't care what he thinks or what anyone else thinks. Because
Yeah.
for so long, I was conditioned to think and care about what everyone thought of me and change and try to be better for so and so to like me or try to be better for communication and or try to make more money for our relationship. Like I tried to do everything for everyone else. And I was like, at one point in this past year, kind of just been like, F it.
Yeah.
God knows. That's all that matters to me.
Yep. And it's so funny that you say that because I felt the same way. I was like, if I do this, like something that would be complained about, if I do this better, or
Yeah.
if I have a problem and I come to him this way, it'll be better. Or if I'm not angry when I come to him, or if I come to him,
In the morning instead of at night. Like it's that hyper vigilance
yes,
of, and also that pre planning of the conversation. I'd be in the shower and say, kind of mock script like things like
yeah,
that's not healthy and
no,
not
that's
normal.
so exhausting part. It's like, that's why you're so spread
The
thin. It's like
energy. Yes.
you have 10 conversations before you even have one that's going to blow up no matter if how
Anyway,
you say it.
yeah, it's gonna be 7, so might as well not even have that conversation prior. Yeah, I think that's like, and we joke about it now, but, it actually is so hard when you're in it. Like, it was
It is.
so hard, and I think that's what is and that's why I have this 6th step of the system because the first step is awareness. You can't get to step 5 before you get in the system or in the, headspace of awareness because you have to be aware of what you're and until I got the language and became aware, there was no way I could have gotten to where I was. And
Mhm.
that's a process. That's why it's a system. That's why it actually is, a step by step because one is and isn't contingent on the other. You can show up in the system halfway through. It just means you're going to get probably to the end or faster. But it's hard when you're in it because that self trust is diminished. You are conditioned to think a certain way, and it's so easy to get pulled back into the loop. And even when you're out of it, it's so hard for me not to get pulled back in. But the
Yeah,
difference is the techniques and the awareness and just how you can name it, right? And when you
yeah,
see it, you just know, "Yeah, it's 7. Great,
yeah.
great." That's we're gonna tagline that. It's 7.
It's 7.
Yeah, that's
I
funny.
love this. Yeah. And to your point, like, I in my heart, like, I had to use my brain a lot and, like, override my heart for the longest time, just being in
Yes,
therapy and going through it because to your point, like, I still in my heart, like, hoped that he would change. I
you
hoped that
still do.
things where I'm like, "I want my family back. I want these things," but my brain is like, "It's 7." Like, it's
Mm.
gonna be 7, it's always 7.
No, because it is that logic
Mhm.
overriding emotion, and that's the hardest part is because and I even said this in one of my videos, like, I don't love the word hope because hope is what kept me for so long. That hope that he would promise me, tomorrow's gonna be better, I'm gonna find a job, or we're gonna live there one day, or it's gonna be easy, whatever that was. I got promised and I believed it because I had hope. And I think one of the turning moments of the death by a thousand cuts was realizing that that hope was just empty words with no action. And that was the pattern too. So once I became aware of these false promises and this fantasy that he was selling me that he wasn't actually contributing to. I was like, "You've made a fool of me, but no more." Like, I no longer hope and wish and beg and plead and cry for you to be different, because there's
Yeah.
nothing I can do to make you different. I've tried everything. I'm exhausted every avenue. It's up to
Yes.
you, and I remember when I left, he didn't even fight for me. He kind of it was really hard. He said something like, "You'll never be happy. I just wanna make someone happy." Something I think that was it, is like, "You're never happy, and I just wanna make someone happy." And I
Mm,
remember thinking like, "God, if he can find someone he's gonna make happy, I'm the problem." And I
yeah.
remember thinking very weak in that moment because he made me feel like I was the problem, right? Like, I'm never happy, so I'm gonna go find someone else who I can make happy, and he didn't fight for our family or me at all.
Mhm.
And I felt so small, but then through healing, I realized, like, that was just another pattern of him reversing the situation and saying, "You're the problem. I have no, accountability or responsibility
Mhm.
in this, and so I'm gonna go find someone else to make happy." And now I'm like, "Good. I hope you do. I
Yeah.
really, really hope you do,
Yeah.
because that would mean there's change. That would
Yeah.
mean." Well, actually, I don't know. I hope you do it for longer than 3 months. How about that?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you can make anyone happy in the love bombing stage. I hope you
Right.
can make them happy forever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sad.
It is. Again, I'm just so I love this space because it connects people like us. And
Yeah,
so, like, it's just it's further validating, not that either one of us needed it because 'cause we're on the other side, but it's like, it's nice to have the try, where it's
it's
like
a sad tribe, but, like, also very, like I said, empowering. It breaks
it
my
is.
heart that people resonate with my content, but it also lifts me up knowing that that person may still be in the state that they're in right now forever if they hadn't seen the video. I don't know what impact I'm making, but it breaks my heart. I always say, I'm just glad we found each other because I truly am. I'm
Yeah.
sorry this resonates. I'm sorry that we're seeing each other, meet each other this way, but I also know that we can help each other, and that's all I want.
Yeah. So, how can people, if they're listening to this and they have even the slightest resonance with this, how can they get in touch with you? What does working with you look like?
Yeah.
What are kind of someone's next steps?
Yeah, so my handle is delusional to discerning on Instagram and TikTok, and then I have a link in bio. It's a stand store. Learn to discern. It's a link that you can probably start. It says start here. So maybe just start there. It's a free guide. It's a reality restoration free guide. I think the title is Am I Delusional? And it's just kind of the entryway to say, like, if something feels off, then maybe start here. I also offer a reality restoration toolkit that's like something smaller, maybe next step. And then it goes into the system, which is that full fledged 6 module work. It's a work and you can access it anytime. And it's the exact system, if you want to say, of these 6 modules as steps to get where I am today. I broke it down with my therapist and made this system, this course. So there's that. And then I offer, one on ones. They're 90 minutes. It's not therapy. I am a certified trauma informed coach, but it's more validating. And we talk for 90 minutes to get down to it. And so
Yeah.
it's really good if you're really in that dire need and just want to talk it out. And then you get a reality check document after that you can reference. So it's all really good. It's all available in my bio. But yeah, I'm still new. Still, it's only been 4 months, so more to come. Hopefully.
Yay. I'm so excited to see what you do next.
Thank you.
I wish someone, and I'm sure my friends wish too, that I had someone like you because
Yeah.
they were like, "Oh, we're
Vice
talking about
versa.
this
Same.
again,"
I know. I
But
know. Well, now we found each other. So if you ever need me, you know where to find me.
you're so sweet. Everybody, if you feel like you're going through a situation like this, your resources are great. Like,
Thank you.
I
Thank you
highly
so
recommend
much.
anybody to check them out.
Thank
So
you. vice
Thank
versa. Well, thanks for
what?
having me. I talk to you anytime.
So, if this conversation felt a little too familiar, hate to break it to you, but that's kind of the point. Erica's work is all about helping you see clearly for your own peace without over explaining, without minimizing, and without losing trust in yourself in the process. You can find her at Delusional to Discerning, where she shares content, tools, and deeper guidance for anyone trying to move from confusion to clarity in their relationships. And if this feels like something you wish you had back then, I'm right there with you. Share this with someone who might need it today. I've been there, and sometimes the push you need to choose yourself begins at the moment you finally hear your experience reflected back to you. Until next time, stay wild.